Coming in hot, 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 Lisa shares her financial tips and strategies to build wealth, have fun with finances, and be debt-free without having a restrictive budget. From bankrupt to millionaire, Lisa knows what it's like to feel as if you're living paycheck to paycheck. Her unconventional money multiplier system is the very wealth protocol that enabled her to retire 2.5 years early, pay down $100,000 of debt in 6 months, and move to her dream home at the beach. Welcome to this episode of I Date Money. I'm your hostess. Guess who? Lisa Drennon. How did you not know that, right? Do you ever get tired of listening like the same intro and you're like, can you change it up a little bit? I know, I totally get you. Today we have another special guest. We have the beautiful Colleen Lindberg. She is a soul mission activator. I love that. I'm a wealth activator. She's a soul mission activator and a spiritual guide. Her mission on earth is to dismantle the conformity infrastructures holding us back so people can fully embody their potency and power. I probably didn't say potensity right. I'll say it really fast. Those of you listening, say this really fast. Potency and power. Let me know how you do on that one. She believes that each soul missions is a unique rhythm that is meant to ripple through the world. I love creating ripple effects. Her programs and teachings guide light warriors into more embodiment into their light, owning their unique tools and vibration. I just love that, Colleen. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this space and the lightning and the ripple effect. And, money, we're going to talk about money, dating money today. That's what the show is kind of all about. And when we think about money and the ripple effects it creates, what's your earliest memory of creating this ripple effect?
Well, if we want to go into the work I actually had to do around money, I remember at the age of 2, where in my family, we ingrained, my parents ingrained in me, money doesn't grow on trees. And we literally only had money for what we called necessities. And because of a lot of work I did within, my own trauma responses and moving through and healing and stuff, I realized that at the age of 2, because of that being ingrained, I thought that I could never get the lifestyle or the desires I actually wanted. So I was that 2-year-old that stole a pack of Halls from the grocery store because my parents would never buy us the things that I really desired. Like, who needed chicken when you wanted Halls, right? And like a 2-year-old, what am I going to do with Halls? But that's the thing I really remember the most was that vibration that my parents embedded in me, that we never had enough money to buy the things of lifestyle, that money didn't grow on trees, and that it was all scarcity energy. So that's the first memory when we go back to the embedded work I had to do around money, even through entrepreneurship and evolution, and realize that it came from that. So yeah.
Yeah. So much of what we know about money is instilled in us when we were children, and these repetitive, programming, right? If you think the brain is a program, we're constantly getting these downloads that don't even serve us or aren't even what we truly believe about money, and recognizing that and be able to reverse it. That's power, right? And it creates that ripple effect. I like how you describe, imagine money as a person and you describe it as flowing. How have you seen money flow throughout your life?
Yeah. So I would say now she, and I usually use the term she. So when I've done a money meditation before, and she showed up, money showed up as a feminine energy. So I always use the verb she when I call it money, when I talk with money, and she flows in my world now, almost like a river. If I give you that imagery, if you play with her and you move with her and you get in her stream and move, then money flows in that way with me in the business I do and the way I connect. But most of my life, I literally was climbing up the stream. I was trying to force and control the dynamics of it, get into this box and then you'll have success. And it was never in the box. It was always within me, finding out that vibration that I could flow with money and be one with money when I actually finally surrendered and started to trust money.
Yeah. And that's powerful when you can trust money, when you can trust yourself with money. You and money can be alone, and you can do the things that you desire to do especially when it comes to planning. So when you
Yes.
think about planning for money, and so have you always been an entrepreneur or did you have a 9 to 5?
Yeah, so I look really young, but technically I'm 42. So just making sure I say that to everyone in the world. So I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. So the age of 28 is technically when I started my entrepreneurship journey. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur at the time. I didn't have any reference points. Like this was like a calling that came forth. But before that, I used to have multiple 9 to 5s. I was that girl that was always working 2, 3 jobs, even going through university, and just literally wherever I could create, I was always creating. So yeah, that's kind of like the entrepreneurship dynamic side.
What drove you to work 2 to 3 jobs?
I was just always in it for more. And like at the time, my level of thinking told me more was working harder. And I think that our pulse point in success, and a lot of it, like I was having this discussion earlier today, like 20 years ago when I got into personal development, when I started, like the first book I ever read was like Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So Robert Kiyosaki. And I started like really leaning into personal development. A lot of the stories of success I used to hear was like, you need to grind it out, and you need to work 24/7, and you go from broke to like wealthy, and like that was the story. So in my mind it was always like, how do I create this? Like I was working as many jobs as I could because that's what I was working hard, and I was driven by having the lifestyle and having the money, but I didn't understand that there was other ways to flow through that. If we talk about the Rich Dad Poor Dad model, obviously through the investing side, but there was also other ways through entrepreneurship and really owning your craft and stepping into the space and like doing the healing work with money, and all those other dynamics that we could speak to for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a money management system in place is so
Oh
important.
yeah, that's why you asked me that question. Okay, yeah, the
Yeah.
money management thing. I was like, the
Yeah,
question
that
I
like
probably would avoid in normal life, because I hate, and I use the word hate lightly, in a sense of like, I rebel against systems, like I just do. So having to stay within a budget, it never made sense in my mind as who I was, because I always believed, after I started doing the work, that if I desired something, I just had to expand into that and then be able to move within that area. But, there's some key things that make us breathe and be able to sleep at night, is having that flow move through our world, and being able to have pockets of income move through, and, being able to like diversity in our world, to have lifestyle and to move to Costa Rica if you choose to do that, or whatever, because that's where I technically live, and that's part of my story. But that landscape of things. So yeah, it's an important piece for sure. And in my responsibility with money, it started to show up that I needed to own that space to hold more. Because if you don't own it, you can't actually call it in or hold more either. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people want to call in more money, but they can't hold on to the frequency of money. So they receive money and it goes out as quickly as it comes. And I like to say money is a one-night stand in that situation. And what can you do to improve that relationship so that money does stick around and wants that long-term, relationship, that partnership? And when you think about that, have you ever, like when you were transitioning from these 2 to 3 jobs, going into your entrepreneur world, making your plans, like I like to call them your money bucket list, where you moved to Costa Rica, you did all these things.
Yeah.
Was there a point in that journey where you felt broke and you were worried about, am I doing the right thing? Is there going to be enough money to cover this?
All the time, especially the first probably 5 years of entrepreneurship for me, because I didn't have a model either. Like I was working blind, we'll call it. Like I didn't have really a mentor teaching me. I didn't have anything. I was discovering entrepreneurship in my own value system and all of that. So imagine money doesn't grow on trees was an embedded belief that was still running through the business. So like I have so many stories of like running out of gas in the parking lot at the bank when you have a check that you're going in to go cash to actually put money in. Like I have, like I said, like 20 years ago when I read personal development, it was almost embedded in us that was a success story. So if you were broke and poor and like running after things, but you had a dream, you were doing it right, So it was almost like that was embedded in me to believe and to move through, until one day I was like, screw this. Like, I do not want to be living this anymore. What do I need to change? And then I started paying attention, and then hiring coaches who had, different skill sets, and actually leaning into the things I wanted to teach, not just moving in the business to gather the money. Like, oh yeah, I could build that website for you, or sure, I could do that work, because it wasn't aligned. It was just to drive money to survive. And I was just done surviving. So like when you really fully lean into your potency in business and you really embody what you're actually meant to do, the money will come in alignment with that. You're not chasing it anymore. It drops, it shows up. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
You couldn't have said it better. Yeah, that's exactly right. So those of you listening, rewind for that. That's going to be a good soundbite because that is the truth. When you're not aligned, it's almost like you put the brick wall up and nothing's going to penetrate that until you get aligned. And so many of us are after those shiny objects. We're trying to fill that void. And, it's like you had mentioned being stuck in the bank with no gas in your car.
Yeah.
I remember driving to work on an almost empty tank and just puttering into the parking lot. And my coworkers were like, well, why didn't you stop and get gas? Like, if there wasn't a gas station on the way.
Yeah.
I took the back roads to work, hoping that I would make it. And I just don't understand. Why did you let it get below a half a tank? I'm like, what? You're not supposed to let your car get below a half a tank? Who knew that?
I rode empty so many times, like in all different kinds of vehicles too. Like I knew when it went on empty, I was pulling out the manual going, how much gas can I actually get out of this system? I was that girl. And like, I have a rebellion energy and it's part of my brand, which helps me like, deconstruct, abolish the conformity in the world and the mechanism I coach in, but it serves me, but it also serves some adventures, adventures.
Yeah. Running out of gas is no fun. So I love that you embodied it. So your younger self is just like, yeah, okay, we're going to run out of gas. So we're going to stretch this to the limits. We're going to test our faith here. Yeah. What helps you transition out of that to create, like, I don't like budgets either. Budgets are way too restrictive, right?
Yeah.
I like a money management system because, SOPs are very important to what we do, right? If you don't have an SOP, especially when you want to hire a team, it's going to be easy to pass off what you don't want to do so that they can do it, so you can free up your time for your zone of genius. So when you think about an SOP for your business income, what's your favorite way to implement that?
Yeah, well, like I drive towards creating money every single day. Like that's what I do. And how I do that in my business structure is making sure I have offers available. So part of like the money SOP of making sure there's always money and consistency of money. And 14 years, long time, 9 years, outside of the, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to eat today energy, and moving out of that, it's a long time to like embed some stuff. So now it's like the scalability of the business. And it's like, I always ensure that whatever I'm creating, whether it's membership based or it's coaching based or whatever it is, that money's landing consistently all the time in my bank account. So from a money SOP standpoint, it's like the consistent flow. And then we outweigh it with what are we spending? What are the expenses like? Can I hold this? And, sometimes it's like the breath needs to come through when you're about to make a really big investment and decision. It's like, hiring a one-to-one coach is not inexpensive, especially for the ones that are actually the ones that are going to take you to the next spaces and levels. And, I just made a pretty large investment recently with a new one-to-one coach. And I was like, okay, and it's like one of those, it's like, you can hold this, here's the regular income that you get every month. You got this covered, like you can do this. So like, having that trackability and that monitoring of like the money, that you understand the flow within the business and where do you need to lean in. And maybe this week it's like a leaning in week for some gravy, because you're desiring to hit a certain goal, or you're desiring to hit, a certain level in a different dynamic, or you want to see, if your audience will take action right away, or whatever it is that you're moving towards in the business structure. But it's really creating that base, and through the base you work to scale, and then you move through that, and then you keep expanding.
And it's so beautiful when you expand and you have those, systems in place so that you get to do. And investing in yourself is so important. And you said that you had invested in a coach that kind of gave you that, oh my goodness, what did I do? And there's so many people out there who are afraid to invest in coaches. They don't see that as an investment. They see it as someone taking their money. What would you say?
Yeah, I say like, you're never going to be able to expand past the limits that you're at right now. And you may actually get a little bit ahead, but until someone else is like really collectively in there and calling you out on your stuff and helping you really expand, you are playing the same game. So, like Albert Einstein said it, and the quote is so relevant, like doing the same thing over and over again is getting the same results. So maybe you've increased a couple thousand here and there, but if you're really desiring to have an impact in the world and you're desiring to change lives with your product, service, or whatever it is that you're moving through, you're going to need someone to help you, like to get through those humps, to call you out on your stuff. Like my coach specializes in scaling businesses in a way that's not messy, where I own my messy, and he's creating a structure around me that I could still flow and be myself, but the business is working, outside of my like design of the flow of it. And, I've gotten it to a certain point and level that works, and it works well, but it's not where I desire to be, because I know the amplification is being called into the world. So yeah, I would just tell him to do it. Just trust. If you're with the right coach, they're ROI, like they will return that money 10, 20, 100 times fold what you invest in them if you do the work. That's the thing to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah. So what money goals do you have for yourself for the remainder of 2023?
Yeah, 100K months is where I'm aiming towards right now. So that's the energy I'm moving into the collective of the world. And once I can nail that out, then I'm in a good position.
So once you get 100K months, what will you do with all that money?
Yeah. So a lot of it is diversifying in the business, bringing a couple of the team members on full time to actually now be a permanent part, expanding it back into marketing and flow, having a lot of fun, we're going to say too, because fun, like the more fun I have, the more money I make, is a mantra I like embed in everything I do. So who knows where it's going to, and I know it's like, well, you should know where it's going to go. I'm like, I kind of want to like feel it out as it moves through, So yeah.
That's fun. Yeah. So you have to have your fun money. I always say, if you don't enjoy money, what's the point? And going on adventures and having experiences is one of the ways that we can enjoy money. And, some people like to use their fun money to purchase artwork and support others. And, there's just so many possibilities when you're making an impact. Money in the good hands of people does good things, and to be able to expand by, offering an opportunity to hire full-time staff and to have, impact more lives. That ripple effect is so beautiful, and sometimes when we're, holding the energy of money, we don't realize, like, some people think, oh, I'm just holding on to myself. And like, no, you're using it to help support. Like every time you pay, your cell phone bill or your electric bill, the people on the other end are receiving money too, so that they can pay their electric bill and their cell phone bill. So creating that reciprocal energy. I love that. I take it is it Rich Dad, Poor Dad is your favorite business book, or do you have another money book?
Oh my gosh. That was the first book I ever read in personal development. Like, okay. I read all different kinds of books in all different ways. Like I'm very much in because I'm a spiritual guide, like in the spiritual world right now. But I guess if we go into pragmatic books, I would probably tell people either E-Myth. I can't even remember the author. Have you ever read that book?
No.
E-Myth. Oh my God. It's such a great book. Michael Gerber. And it talks about the triangle of business, like whether you're a manager, entrepreneur, or a technician, and the difference of how we run businesses and where we may need support inside of that space. So that's a phenomenal book for those starting out. But I also really love James Clear's Atomic Habits book as well, because I think like the consistency in life is the exact same way we show up in business. So having that consistency too is such an imperative part.
Yeah. And when you starting up your business, is so important to have those tools into place so that you don't spend hours trying to figure it out and then go off on these little tangents where I can do it myself. I'm just going to Google it.
And if you're in a natural technician, like you are the baker, and you're starting up a business baking, you probably most likely do not have the entrepreneurial promoter dynamic in you. So no matter how good your buns are, if nobody knows about your buns, they're not getting out into the world, right? So really recognizing where you fit in this like triangle and owning that and getting support in whatever way that is to help support you in the other avenues, because all three are needed in the business.
Yeah. And a lot of people who are entrepreneurs don't realize that they're everything. They're the market salesman, the consultant, the coach, the accountant, the bookkeeper. They do all those things as a solopreneur when they're first starting off, and recognizing that, like, what's their zone of genius and how do I market this? And, especially when they're getting ready to expand, I see a lot of solopreneurs invest in more coaching thinking that they need this, but what they really need is a VA. What they really need is a team member to help them with some of the back end stuff that's not their zone of genius. Really being aware of that and making that, what's the purpose of investing in this person or this coach or whatever the program is, so that you're more informed, so you can invest your money wisely and it multiplies. And you had said earlier about, I make more money. It multiplies when I have fun. My money multiplies because you love what you're doing. And when you love what you're doing, that does create that easy flow and that reciprocal energy of giving and receiving. So tell us exactly what you do as a soul mission activator. What's your business like?
Yeah, the juicy part of the business is helping people really align in what they're actually meant to do here on earth. So like their actual soul's mission. So we drop into our bodies as these humans, but we actually have a soul that's here to do something. So I help people really align and get clear about that. And if people are in the entrepreneurial world, I help them really fine tune the business side to what they're actually meant to do in it, how they're meant to serve, and the products and offerings, help them create a scalable action plan that they can go out and execute. And then a lot of the dynamics that show up are like being able to step into their power and speak their truth and really hold the confidence and courage to actually own who they really are in life. And that's what I do every day.
I love that. Do you do group coaching or one-to-one or both?
So I have one-to-one specific containers, and then I do a lot of programs and offers that way, masterclasses, circles. I do a lot of spiritual expansion work as well. But in the actual soul mission work, it's like one-to-one capacity. And people can get like just a 2-hour session where we can deep dive into it. They get the plan and then they go run with their other coaches and other dynamics of who they are normally working with now, just to get the clarity on that. Or I do have like longer term coaching clients that are in my space that I help maneuver consistently. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I have a few clients who are in need of that. So I work with a lot of clients, entrepreneurs, transitioning 9-to-5ers, going into that. And some 7-8 figure coaches they know what they want to do, but they have team members who are like, I'm not sure if this is right for me. And, they're like, you know anyone? I'm like, let me look at my referral list and see. So now I'll know who to refer. I love that. I wish I would have met you in August of 20 when I was, changed my niche 3 times and I knew it wasn't right, but I couldn't figure it out. And when I stepped into owning, I've been in finances since 1987. But I wouldn't own it because of my own, healing work that I needed to do. And I could have just done it so much faster, but, divine timing, right? Everything happens at a certain time for a reason. Of course, our stubborn selves get in the way. So I love
the human, that's what I say. It's always the human, like it's like.
Exactly. So if money was a person and came and sat next to you, what would money say to you?
Yeah. So like she talks to me all the time. So like I have a visualization where I work with her consistently, because most of us have been conditioned that it's a separate thing, but it's not. Like money is energy, just like we are. So we flow together. So she would say to me, go have more fun and let's go. She always says this to me, let's go play together. Let's go play together.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, and what's the best way for our audience to get connected with you?
Yeah, my wheelhouse is like Instagram. Like that's where my jam is. I speak truth every single day of the week. So if you're into that, come hang out on Instagram with me.
Beautiful. We'll put the link in the show notes so people can connect with you. So what words of wisdom would you like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I just want to kind of like impart on you today that if it's in you, it's for you. So if you have a dream and you have that whisper and you have a calling, but you may be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can make money at it, or what will my parents think? Or can I really do this? I want you to believe that that's possible, because it wouldn't be in you if it wasn't for you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Colleen. I love your energy. Love what you're doing. You've brought a great perspective to the money world for our audience. So those of you listening, please connect with Colleen, check the show notes, and share this with your friends, especially those who need some soul alignment. They're not really sure what their purpose is. They're looking for help. You can get a 2-hour session or whatever fits your needs. Go follow her on Instagram and be sure to show the show, show the show some love. Give us a 5-star review. And if you'd like to be a guest, hit me up, check the show notes to direct message me. We'll have you on a guest so you too can share your money story. And remember, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do with it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to rate the show, give us some love. We would love your review. And remember, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do with it. And some words of advice: pay yourself first. Are you ready to partner with money? Go check out the money dating game at idatemoney.com and choose your partner. We hope you always get the date you want.